Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Know Nothing podcast. I'm here with a new special guest. His name is?
Nice Shoes Arby in the building.
Nice Shoes Arby. Welcome to the spot.
Wow. Pleasure to be here.
We also have... Introduce yourself. Come on.
Randall Bomer. Thank you.
The Bomes.
Too much to handle, Randall.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course, my name Daniel Hollick. And we also have Josh Waters on the ones and twos.
Big shout out to
Yo,
Josh.
what's good?
Big Josh. Justin is in Doha.
Big J.
Grinding.
He
How you
is.
boys doing?
Good. How are you?
I don't know if I'm better or worse than Kanye West.
Probably better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're probably right
Not
about
better
that.
financially, though.
No, he's definitely
Boys
better.
doing well there.
So, JP Morgan has said he's not allowed to bank. He's kicked him out of the bank. Where is he now? Who's?
Yeah, but J.P. Morgan is just one financial institution.
But if it's a domino effect, you would imagine that
Sure.
it is.
But I mean,
slowly.
that's the ultimate, once you start taking people's money and saying, no, I'm not working with this at all. Isn't that a true cancellation? Isn't that cancel culture to the max?
Yeah.
Isn't that what everyone's hating on Trudeau for doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Taking that step to lock up people's money and say, no, you can't participate.
Yeah. Oh, so you're saying that it's unlikely other banks will do the same?
I think so.
I think that's a fine line.
I
I
would
think
hope so,
I think you get
but-
ideologies worked up when you start saying to somebody, it's one thing to block them online and say no one wants to hear your wild rants.
Yeah.
Another thing to say you
Not
can't
that no one wants
access
to
your
hear.
money.
People do want to hear. It's
I know,
probably
but the
just not
cancel
best
culture-
for general public to.
Right. The people making
Put
the
that out
choices
there.
are
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
we don't want this to be influential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is wrong in its own way. Not saying that what he says is good, but the gatekeepers of the internet should not exist. They should not be
I agree with you on that. I know Arby might not have the same opinion.
No, well, I always play devil's advocate because
Sure.
it's this freedom of speech that the U.S. hangs their hat on.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line? Where is the line? If I have 130 million followers on Twitter, let's say the corporate world doesn't really know who I am, but I'm a gamer or whatever, and I've amassed this massive following, and I go on there and I say, fuck Walmart. Everybody go shoot up a Walmart. Is that okay? That's just my freedom of speech.
You're inciting.
Well,
violence,
that's
I think would be
inciting,
the
but
argument.
I think inciting violence and free speech are two different things. Telling people
Yeah.
to do violent actions, that's different. I think that's where you draw the line.
Yeah, I think-
I'm
commanding
not telling
violence.
people to. I'm just saying, fuck
Well, shoot up a
Walmart.
Walmart.
Okay,
Is,
I'm saying I would love to shoot up a Walmart.
Then
Yeah.
that's not inciting
that's
violence.
not inciting violence.
Yeah,
But
because
if people actually do,
but if somebody
I'm
does,
not, I'm
Then
not
those
held
people-
accountable for that.
Yeah,
No.
those people are fucked.
yeah.
So
You
is
can't-
that kind of like Trump saying, "Go to the Capitol"? Is that
if he was
inciting,
I
or
would love
is-
to go to the Capitol.
Well, I think that the capital thing is such a complex issue, but
yeah, that's a difficult. one.
I think that it's hard to say, I don't even remember all that stuff now because it's so far away from us, especially in Canada.
Yeah.
I feel like it's hard to comment on.
Okay, so rewind. What is Trudeau doing? Because you said, is that similar? to what
Well,
Trudeau's
with the truckers, right? So
He froze bank accounts.
basically with the
of
Freedom Convoy,
the Freedom
Oh, I didn't know
Convoy
that.
leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
selectively
crazy.
froze whoever was supporting it.
Yeah.
And even some people that were puting their money through GoFundMe and the necessary
Okay,
fundraisers.
yeah, I think I read
they
something about
they
that.
threatened and said, if anybody does this, then you're at risk of being completely locked and frozen. With no...
and
with
then
no,
GoFundMe as well, which isn't Trudeau, but they
yeah, they
froze
locked
all the
that
money.
too. They locked that as well.
The big thing was the
And-
freezing
and
of bank
forced it
accounts,
to
though.
go backwards. So you're
So how are we
interfering with...
comparing that to what's going on with Kanye? Just JP Morgan saying,
Well, yeah, just
Yeah.
the freezing of,
Stanley or
of
whatever
assets
banks,
or
whatever.
money and saying, no, you can't. Now, in fairness, I know nothing about that, so I don't know if he's actually saying...
JP Morgan? or-
Yeah, if JP Morgan is saying, I just don't want to be associated with you, you can't have your money with any of my institutions, or he's saying, I'm freezing your assets, you're not touching this, good luck.
I think
No,
I
they
don't
didn't
think he
freeze it.
confiscated his
Yeah,
assets.
that's
It's
a
just
whole,
they don't wanna
That
do
is-
that's
business.
a whole
yeah,
different
yeah,
story,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. No,
I
no,
mean,
you
to
can't
me,
do
that's
that.
robbery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Still not a good look though.
Yeah,
Have a
so
bank.
what's
But
going
I think,
on?
I think
bro.
getting through to these people that have fuck you money is, he's not listening to his friends, his family, whatever, telling
to
him
take their money.
you need to tone it down. Is you hit him where it hurts. So we don't know if Kanye's actually feeling that.
So can I ask a question? Because you said you've done a lot of research on Kanye. You've watched him. You've been following him closely, right? To some degree.
Fascinating.
Yeah, he's
To a
definitely
point.
fascinating.
Yeah.
I agree with you. His financial situation, if I recall correctly, I've always been one of these guys that likes to like read up on people's
Yeah.
net worths and see
Same.
what they say. But apparently, a lot of that is nonsense. At least from what I understand from celebrities, they dispute that quite a
Correct.
bit. And I mean, how does Forbes necessarily go about knowing all this info? Maybe they
Yeah.
take their best guess. So with him,
Yeah.
before Kim and him started to have children and all that,
Yes.
his net worth was nowhere near what it is now.
No.
So was it a Kardashian related thing? Like, how did he get
Very
that
little.
$1 billion status?
Adidas.
So he became a billionaire
Mostly
through shoes.
Adidas. Yeah.
Oh,
How is
They
that
did-
possible?
So the revenue he generates through Adidas, I think, is somewhere around $250 million a year.
Okay.
And then, so when he signed on to Adidas, he owns the name Yeezy. So it was just distributed through Adidas.
Mhm.
So I think that amassed a lot of his wealth there. And then he had a partnership, I think, deal with Balenciaga. So he's getting kickback with them, and then
Mhm.
Gap. His biggest thing was, I think, his salary. You'd have to research it, but just his yearly income from Adidas was like astronomical.
Yeah.
So, but when you listen to him, he's like, I'm worth $11 billion. There's nothing I can find on there that
That's a
he's
lot.
worth $11 billion.
No, he's definitely not worth $11
He was
billion.
recognized the richest black person in history of the world. Like
Who recognized that? Forbes?
Forbes did. Like there's multiple like
Yeah.
good sources that confirm that.
still like. you
But
know,
I
like
just looked up
1/200th of-
Forbes because I was having this
Gates and all
conversation
that.
with a friend and his wife, and he looked it up and he's like, it's 1.8 billion before.
I mean,
meltdown
Oprah's got to
happened.
be up there too.
She's a billionaire.
She's around $1
She's
billion.
not a black man, but a black person.
No, but I mean, I can't really think of the top of my head.
Other than I'm thinking like princes and kings in Africa, they probably have
Yeah,
billions.
yeah. The
But
first
maybe
it's
person
also
that-
not
billions
money
are
that
a
they,
lot of
like,
money.
Count though,
Yes,
right? Like they're
yes.
not. Yeah.
Well, there's sheiks in Saudi that.
But I don't
Yeah.
think
Never
the
know
average
their
person,
wealth.
Yeah.
first of all, I don't think the average person necessarily even comprehends $1 billion. And we throw that around nowadays rather loosely. But in reality, you look at the highest paid celebrities, and there's really only in athletes too. You look at the LeBron James, I don't know. You
100 million.
look at Drake.
Conor
200 million.
McGregor was
The
the,
most-
first billionaire athlete.
He's not a billionaire.
No,
he's
no,
not
no,
a billionaire.
Was he not?
No,
No.
I would say Floyd Mayweather
And
would be.
he's not even a
More
billionaire,
him.
supposedly.
He
These
did
guys
it-
are worth like half a
probably half a
But
billion.
he
billion.
didn't do it in sports. He did it outside of sport, kind of like Kanye's doing.
So again, this is
Or
the
did.
dispute on finances: is where who's claiming this, right? Because there's
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
and you know what? Speaking of Andrew Tate, as we'll touch on, the controversial Andrew Tate, of course, is he's one to say as well that like once you get to a certain level of wealth, it becomes extremely hard to pinpoint even what you're worth, even for the people who we're talking about. Like Kanye West says he's worth $11 billion. Tate argues that at some point you have your money tied up in so many different things at so many different days. It
What do you know
fluctuates.
what kind of return
Like,
you're getting?
How do you
Yeah.
possibly quantify it? You just know at some point you have enough money to do whatever you
You
want,
judge
whenever
by
the fuck
assets
you
and
want.
stuff. Yeah.
yeah.
And there's sort of a point where, maybe over like $100 million is just, you're rich. What are you going to say?
That'd be a nice problem to have, to not be able to count your net worth.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
not a
so.
bad idea.
Fingers crossed.
I'm on my way.
Speaking of which, overnight billionaire, somebody hit the
the
what is it called?
Powerball.
The Powerball.
Yeah.
I was
for
shy to tell you guys.
2.04
That
billion.
Yeah.
But live on air.
Yeah.
One person from California won it.
I'm
Yeah.
getting seltzers
That person's
tonight.
a dead man, no? Or
Lady.
woman. Yeah.
I think it was a lady, and the buyout price is $997 million.
What do you mean the buyout? Is it like,
So
it's
in
like
the
cash for
States,
life
they-
type thing?
They do. You can either take it
Right,
yearly,
lump sum?
broken through 25 to 50 years, or you can do a lump sum, and it's $997 million.
Jesus.
So a friend of mine sent me a video. I don't know if this is her or this is a past winner, because I think last year or in 2016, I think there was a $1 billion winner.
Mhm.
And they're like, what are you going to do with the money? And she's like, I don't know yet. I haven't decided. They're like, are you going to buy a new car? And she was like, well, I just bought a car last year. I'll probably pay it off. It's like, you have no fucking idea how much
Yeah.
money you just got.
Yeah.
Even 100 million. Or
That's what I try to
70
say.
million
I try
in
to say, look
Ontario,
at these
right? Like,
very rich athletes and people that have the best. Like, who would you argue as a
Yes.
sportsman who would you say is the most
Wealthiest?
Yes, no, don't even say
Well
that. Just
paid?
give me like the top athletes in all the major sports.
Tom Brady, LeBron James,
Yeah.
Are we doing all time?
No, not all time, like active.
like right now.
Oh, active. Okay. LeBron's up there, yeah.
Yeah.
Not Michael
I
Jordan.
would say Magic
No.
Johnson, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shaq made a bunch too, but he was also
Shaq,
land
and
deals
even
stuff.
Very
Shaq's
much
not
so.
a billionaire.
Is he not?
No, he
No.
is. He is.
I thought he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would Google
Maybe
that
this
right
year
now.
with
I would
with
look that up
inflation,
right now.
maybe.
Yeah.
Let's
No,
look it up.
I think the guy has like 700 businesses.
Hey, look, I'm a big
Yeah.
Shaq fan too, but I don't think he's a billionaire.
I would say it's at least 1.4
Are we
billion.
betting?
Maybe
Josh, look it up.
him and Kanye got into a feud online.
Yeah, I saw
and,
that recently.
Shaq said, "I have more money than you." So back
Says
the
his
fuck
net
up.
worth is 400 million.
Shaq?
Shaq, yeah.
Wow.
And
Who wrote
that's
that article? I'm gonna DM him. Right
Yeah.
now.
Hey.
that's on
Get your shit in order.
celebritynetworth.com. I
Kanye
don't know
has
what
less money than
what
Kanye's
400 million.
400 million it says here too. Yeah, Forbes 400
Okay,
million.
can you look up Kanye then? While
Yeah,
we're at
sure.
it?
I told you
And
none of these
LeBron's
guys.
got- LeBron's
so
gotta
few
be
of them.
around
No,
$1 billion.
no. Lebron's maybe 800
He's got
million.
a lifetime deal with Nike.
Yeah,
Lifetime.
maybe-
That's Tiger Woods shit. That means like
He's worth approaching 1 billion.
What does that
Who
even
is?
mean? A
LeBron
lifetime deal?
approaching
LeBron?
a billion. Yeah.
He's
Like,
approaching a
Not,
billion.
yeah, 900.
dude, he has like a school. This
True.
guy's like
But-
a
but
big
think about
business.
that.
Big
That's-
business.
This guy is like, arguably the GOAT in basketball. Some people will never say that, but others say
Yeah,
that.
I'm
But
about to
I
leave
will.
if you keep on this.
Sorry?
If you keep
Yeah.
on this line, I'm
Yeah.
just leaving. How come you left, Arby? He said LeBron's the GOAT. I had
No,
to
no,
talk.
I don't think he's the GOAT, but
It's Scotty Barnes. Okay, let's get that.
who else
I think
was
it was
I
Steve
checking
Nash,
for
to
you?
be honest with
Tom Brady. I was
Yeah.
asking for Kanye if there's any kind of info on there.
Yeah,
since
sure. So Tom Brady, net worth 600 mil.
300? 600 million.
you. Footballers make the most.
No, net worth is,
He
he
gets
says
paid on
250,
looks.
250. Sorry,
Yeah.
250.
What's the 600 mil?
No,
Can I
600 is
throw a
wrong.
crazy idea
Go ahead.
out there, by the way,
Yeah.
since Kim's single and so is Tom Brady now?
Yeah.
I think they're going to hook up.
Why? Why? You saw them flirting in
If
the...
you really want
What
to know,
happened to Pete?
I had a dream.
Yeah.
Pete
What happened
dragged
to
his
Pete?
horse dick out of her life and removed all the kids' tattoos.
He's with
I think it
another
was just a fling.
supermodel now too.
Atta boy.
Yeah.
Oh, now he
It's
is.
that BD.
Yeah.
Because he hung out with her for a bit, yeah?
Yeah, probably actually.
Apparently he's a really nice guy. They
Yeah, he's a comedian.
they
He's
broke it
reasonably
off
funny.
amicably, but
That's so nice to hear.
if anybody thinks that wasn't a rebound for Kim,
He's worth 8 million.
who is?
Pete.
Nice.
Poor guy.
He
I
didn't
thought
get
it
like
was
a
more,
goodbye
to be
check
honest.
from Kim.
8 million is not that much. as
Like
a
here,
net
don't ever
worth,
speak
but
to me
it's
again.
Not a lot when
Maybe
you're a
an
celebrity,
NDA
like-
or something for like 20 mil or something.
Speaking of
She's
Kim,
supposed to be worth $1.5 billion.
I would say she is,
Yeah.
her and her sister.
So,
So,
oh yeah,
she
Kanye.
is 5% owner of Yeezy.
Kim.
Oh.
That's a part of their agreement. And Kanye
So, This
is
says
5%
here,
owner of Skims, which is
Forbes
Skims.
estimates him at 400 million. Kanye.
So
Forbes.
this is recent then.
Yeah,
since the
October
meltdown.
21st, 2022.
Oh damn! Holy shit!
It said the Adidas deal supposedly accounted for $1.5 billion in its total.
okay, that's about right.
However,
That's a lot of money.
they said that, Kanye West has an estimated total fortune of $1 billion. However, after these comments he's made lately, things may change quite a bit for the guy. On the same website I was quoting you the other guys, it says he's worth $1 billion. He's 45 now. Is he 45? Yeah.
Kanye,
Yeah, I think so. Kanye's 45.
take my money.
He doesn't sing that.
She
That's
take
crazy,
my
man.
money when I make fun of
So I worked at a
Jews.
pool hall growing up. One of the best pool players in the world played out of there once in a while. His name was Alex Peggy-Lyon. And we used to make jokes because pool players, they have like a world of talent, but they have bad money management. They gamble, this and that. And he used to always say, $1 million stroke, $2 brain. And that's kind of what I feel like with Kanye. Like this guy's such a creative person. He does have like a crazy mind. But that same mind gets him in trouble sometimes because he shoots off the lip without thinking.
That's I do think that he's so I don't know whether the whole bipolar and manic
There's a condition
mental
there.
health
I don't
issue
know what it is, but there's
like
something there.
it was brought out, and it seems to be exacerbated by things like high stress, lack of sleep, and other traumatic things, right? So like when his mom passed, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Where things probably
He
shift
might
in
not
brain
have
chemistry.
even like recovered from that.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
he
that's what I'm
never
saying.
healed, like, he never
I know
addressed it.
quite a few bipolar
And then he
folk,
went through a divorce. You
and
know,
I can
like
tell you that it is it is extreme, and people don't understand it. If you don't know someone's bipolar, you can just think they're, for lack of a better word,
I've
fucking
seen somebody
lost their
that has
marbles.
it, yeah. I've seen
Right?
them have
The way
episodes in front of me.
they
Yeah,
flick
yeah,
back
yeah,
and
yeah.
forth and go very frantic in their thoughts, and just they don't stop talking, even when they're way like out of line. They're not processing like a normal person. That's why
And they
you
don't know they're doing it.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So,
what
I
hurts
mean,
to watch from the outside.
I don't know. And I think with him, the problem is he's kind of got the boy who cried wolf thing going on too, where he has literally incited fascination through his drama, like strategically. And I think
Yeah, and it's kind of like
people don't know
now
how
it's-
to say
yeah.
this guy's not crazy or this guy's not got some problem.
And people get triggered.
Right.
He's a walking hypocrite. Like a lot of stuff.
And that's the problem, right? You
That
lose your
was the Piers
credibility.
Morgan,
You lose it when you
podcast.
play back
he
and
starts
forth.
it off. I think 2 or 3 things about
Yeah.
Biden.
This
he
is
just
the Pierce Morgan.
just shits on Biden, right?
Was it who, Kanye?
Kanye.
I mean,
I can't recall
I
exactly
don't
what he said.
necessarily think that's a bad thing.
Well,
Whatever
let's
it
lock
is.
him up.
No.
20 minutes later, he's like, I want to live in a country where we don't insult our president, our leaders. It's like, can we rewind
What?
that 20 minutes ago?
Yeah.
You were just saying Biden shit. But it's like, everything's acceptable as long as you're doing what.
Like everything that he
Right?
says is
Exactly.
okay all the time,
Exactly.
no matter what. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Biden is a shell of a man. I mean, that's a robot. I'm
as
pretty
far
sure.
as
He's
I
so
remember
old.
Biden,
Oh,
he's always been a
God.
chatterbox and like a drifter. Like I remember watching him be a backup to Obama as a vice president. He was kind of the same Biden. You can see the same thing.
Yeah,
It's more
except it's
elevated
like
now.
20 years ago.
But it's like, just get it out, dude. Like he would have like the mumbles and this and that. But I mean, he's done some good things. I know there's arguments on that, but his administration's done some decent things.
Yeah, problem is I don't think poor Joe is making any decisions.
Well, that's the
my
same
own-
with, like,
my own
I
thought.
Trudeau,
honestly
really-
hope he doesn't run.
I don't think
in
he.
24.
I don't think
He
he's
says he
capable.
is.
He said
I think
he
the
was
people
going to.
around it, well, but they don't have anyone. Who do like the Democrats
Yeah.
have no one.
And what happened to? I'm sorry, but what happened to VP?
She disappeared, dude. She's at the
That's
border.
a really good question, actually. Yeah.
I'll tell you what happened. She said a lot of nonsense, and they were like, "What the fuck? We can't have
I
this."
hate her laugh.
Like I
Something
think,
about it.
but
Like,
I
I
think
don't know anything about
she
her.
gets a
You
lot of
mimic
heat
it?
for her nonsense.
But she laughs at the most inopportune
Yeah,
times, and the way
the
she
cackle.
laughs, it's almost like it's like I
It's an
don't know,
awkward
it's
like
witchy.
thing. It's a fill in the gap on when she's made some stupid comments, and it's like I'm gonna
Oh,
laugh
she'll,
this
like,
off
laugh
because I'm
weirdly?
embarrassed.
Mm.
Yeah, and I'll just she's yeah. You
Well, the
can
Democrats
look up
had an
your fair
agenda.
share.
You know, from day one, they needed a person of color. They needed a female. It was like
Check the boxes
they
kind
had
of
to
thing.
check. Yeah,
Yeah.
But
Which is weird.
we'll see.
That's like
I'm
a
actually pretty
strategy for
excited
politics
to see what happens
in
next.
2024.
Yeah, because I think like the whole DeSantis and Trump, like if they were to meet,
that showdown.
that's going to be fantastic because Trump pulls no punches and he insults people like that. Like I've never seen a political person do. So that's going to be good entertainment for us in Canada to watch. Maybe not. So
We'll see what
much if
happens.
you in the
Yeah.
States,
I think
but
that it'd be highly unlikely to think that Trump is going to sit this one out.
I don't
at
think
this point,
I don't
he's-
think he's going to.
And is Don Jr. coming in then? If so, is he allowed to just run?
We're finally on air.
once he's done,
All right.
once he's done doing his rails and
He's like, they're talking about Trump. It just got good.
my father. He bothers me, that guy.
My father. What was that?
That's Donnie Jr.
You sure that wasn't Bruce?
Bruce Jenner? We're not allowed to say that. You're going to
Oh.
get canceled.
That's all right.
The
Cancel
podcast's
me.
going to get canceled
Cancel
before
me.
it even
Cancel
takes
before it
off.
starts. That's
13.
how you ride the wave. You piss people off. That's
What's
what
that?
Andrew Tate does.
What does he
just
do?
Pisses people off. More people watch him because
Yeah.
they're like, I'm angry at you.
Yeah,
And
you can't
That's
cancel
literally
me.
the world we live in. The
Yeah.
more people you irritate, the bigger your hype gets.
Yeah.
Well, they did say like over and over again, and I know Dr. Phil, to quote Doc Phil, he has a thought on
Genius,
Kanye, which is like, guys, come on, man. You really think that a lot of the shit he says is as like wild and nutty as you think it is, or do you think he doesn't do it as like, again, strategic commentary where we're talking about him right now? People
Yeah.
want to talk about him, and he's kept himself relevant,
I
even
think
if
a lot
it's
of it's genuine.
absolute, even if
what
it's
he
absolute
believes.
bullshit. He has a tendency to be able to orchestrate that type of conversation.
Well, I mean, if you say crazy anti-Semitic things as a famous person,
So what did he say?
Who?
Kanye West.
he was saying how the.
Just want to know how your brain remembers it, because I
Okay.
know we've been reading about it, but like what did he say?
Fair. He was saying how the thing that I remember is he was talking about the mainstream media being run by
Jewish media.
Jewish people, Jewish
Jewish
media. He was
media.
saying
He calls
the Jewish
it
media.
Jewish media.
Oh yeah,
Jewish doctors, Jewish lawyers.
yeah, and how they are trying to control him and put him into this like cookie cutter.
If you don't go with the narrative,
then you're on the
you're
outside.
the outcast.
Yeah.
and- yeah.
So he said that, talking to who? He was putting this on Twitter or making a video or reel or
It was a
something?
3-hour and 25-minute podcast on Drink Champs, and Noriega. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys know. And he kept saying,
real
"But Connie, don't
Noriega?
say that about Jewish people. We love our Jewish people." Like he keeps trying to interrupt
He's
it.
trying
He goes,
to-
fuck no, not till my people get what they need." Blah blah blah. Because he's saying if you open up all the rappers' contracts, if you open up all the athletes' contracts, you'll see that they're getting fucking robbed. This that. But it's like, why are you labeling them?
Isn't the
Jewish
business
lawyer
been that way?
100%.
forever?
I
Yeah,
think
I don't
he's
know if
sour.
that's
I
like-
think he's sour once he learned business. Maybe he looked in and goes like, "Holy shit,
They're stealing.
They're,
from me.
they're stealing from
But
me."
then he
and then other
blames it on
people
a
came
group
because
of
he had
people
Donda
who he
Sports,
thinks-
right?
yeah.
And he signed on Jaylen Brown. I think there was another football player. Like Donda Sports signed them on, right? So I think he got exposed to the world of contracts and stuff, and then he compared it to what he's given his players or his entertainers as opposed to what he signed on for, and he was like, "I'm getting robbed." Mind you, he's got Candace Owens in his ear. He's got the whole Republican Party. They're kind of weird when it comes to Jews too. I've heard Trump say some things that I don't want to say anti-Semitic, but they paint some sort of a vision. So you got that in your ear, and you start thinking.
Well,
like,
there's a lot of successful Jewish people in certain positions.
so
and
Pierce Morgan kept trying to say, like,
Yeah,
so why are you labeling it
all Jews.
into
Yeah,
Jewish people? Could it just
Yeah.
be the people that are designing the contracts, this, that? He wouldn't listen to the question. And Pierce is like, so what if I said, all black people did this, did that, did this, right? And he wasn't listening. And he's like, you're not answering my question. And that's when Kanye just went into baby mode. He's like, la, 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 la. I'm not listening to you. I'm speaking, bro. Don't interrupt me, bro. Or boy, sorry. He kept saying, don't interrupt me, boy. It's like, answer the question, because there's a valid question there.
Yeah.
Like, what
Yeah.
if somebody came
Sure.
on, a white person, and said, black people this, black people that? Like,
Yeah.
people would be going nuts. They'd be going nuts. They really would, especially the day we're living in.
Yeah.
And he couldn't bring himself to actually view it from that. He still stands to it. I don't know if you saw that TMZ interview. I'm
Yeah, I did.
dying.
That was
I'm
that was
dying.
ridiculous.
yeah, I did see that.
These
That-
lawyers, these doctors.
I'm not gonna say.
No, I'm not
I'm
allowed
gonna
to say it.
I'm not gonna say Jewish people.
Jewish people. And then they played like the Larry David.
Yeah. He's what is it? What is the Dave Chappelle skit? He's Clinton Baxwell, or what's the Dave Chappelle, the
Yes,
show,
yes,
the
yes,
very
yes.
first
Oh,
episode
so
of the
good.
blind black guy who was part of the KKK.
White power.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
oh
man.
boy. So where does he go from here? What do you think happens to him?
Maybe he gets a deal somewhere else. And if he does, and it goes well, then it's an act. But if it doesn't, or he does,
I
and it
don't
doesn't
see
go
it
well,
being an act.
You think he
Um,
backs down?
Well, I think he's.
What's the vow of silence he's taken?
Yeah, I haven't heard of that.
he's been silent ever since, so we don't.
Yeah,
actually
but
know.
is it? But was that a real thing that you had read?
Yeah, it was he posted a. He probably posted on Instagram too. He
I
posted on Twitter.
read something.
Was that like really recent?
a week ago, half a week.
Okay.
I read something wild yesterday or 2 days ago. The fact that he's really taken a liking to Candace Owens, he's plugging her documentary as facts.
Oh, there's a weird thing with her too, right? Where he
Absolutely.
bought Parler
Absolutely.
and her and her husband
Ding, 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 ding.
scot free on that deal.
So he's buying the social media platform Parler, which is her fiance or her husband's failing
started it?
business.
I don't think
He
they started
started it?
No. I don't
I
think
I
so.
thought he bought it.
No,
I don't know if he started it. I know it's his
Okay.
social media company and it's failing bad. That's like bleeding money. And they've,
Yeah.
whatever they've done, they've massaged Kanye's ego in a way where he's taken such a liking to her and her husband that he's going to buy that platform. So they're going to, I hope not, but they're going to be like, done,
That's
job done.
What if that's
Objective,
true? What an absolutely
fulfilled.
horrible group of people. Like just to be just
Thank
not
you.
even like just so rude.
Thank
Funny
you.
enough, the Parler I think was created to be uncancelable. That was
As
like,
long as you say what the right side is okay with you saying.
no.
It's just like the left.
What do you mean?
So look
How
at Truth
so?
Social. Truth Social is going to have zero censorship. It's where you're going to be able to go and speak on. And
But is
people
that
went
the
on
users?
there and talk shit about.
Is that the
Truth Social,
users
and they
that
got
are-
kicked off.
Who's Truth
they got-
Social? Who has
Truth
that?
Social is Trump's.
Trump created it.
I think he
It's his
invested in
like
it.
yeah. It's like it's labeled as his
Okay.
social media platform.
Yeah.
And it was going to be zero censorship. It's where truth is
And what
spoken
happened?
and you can talk whatever you want. People went on there and were saying things, bashing the right side.
Who says this?
It's-
Like what?
it-
What?
You can go on and see it. Like, and now it's like if you're not speaking to the right, you're
Truth
not on
Social.
there. Truth Social. Yeah.
Okay, but is this
That stock actually
this-
fucking
Yeah.
went nuts, and then it
Well,
leveled
that
off.
was that thing. Yeah. I remember
Okay,
when
so
that
is
was
this,
going nuts.
Is this
off.
Truth Social users are like
Oh, I so badly want to
like
know
if
about
you-
these things.
attacking Democrats or left-leaning people, or are they getting kicked off the platform by the platform?
well, they're talking shit about the right.
Yeah,
So it's like,
But
let's
but
say
are
you
they just
create an
like
account
hired
and you
people
go on
to do
there and
that?
you say Trump's garbage. I
Yeah.
hate him. Blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. You just get knocked off.
so the platform kicks me
Yeah.
off. What a fucking shit show!
So it's pretty much the same thing
It's
as the left.
Yeah, it's the exact same.
They don't want you to say what they don't
Yeah.
want to hear.
Yeah, except
And
probably
That's why I don't.
a little bit more
But-
deliberate and like.
little
So
bit.
apparently,
And-
so
They are a little bit
what
more
this
cutthroat
says
the right
here
side than the
is
left.
Yeah.
Left's a little bit.
the people
nicer.
who supposedly got banned were suspended after posting directly on things regarding the January 6th committee hearings and making comments about evidence during, I guess, a trial. I don't know. Again, I wasn't reading up on that story, but I find it interesting. I want to know more about that. Because you might be right. I don't doubt that there's bullshit like that on both sides.
Both sides.
But I
I
think,
think both sides are corrupt. I think both sides. There's a lot to unpeel.
sure, but I
No
would
one side's better
I
than
would
the other.
definitely argue that from what I've seen, the left is definitely like the cancelers. They invented it.
They are
They
definitely more
invented
sensitive.
it.
Yeah.
They're definitely more sensitive.
Yeah, I mean, the cancel culture that we know
Don't
now.
decide
I mean,
for
couldn't-
me what
couldn't you-
offends
Couldn't
me.
you argue? Yeah,
That's what they do.
Yeah.
They stand
But
up and be like, he's offended. You shouldn't speak that way.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
him fucking speak.
Right.
You know what
you
I mean?
could argue though that the right has been, because they've been in power like traditionally for longer because of like their dominance in or religion's like influence of the right, that they've been canceling without this use of cancel culture
Correct.
for hundreds of years, right? Like if you, they,
It is a
like
Christian
even
party,
something
like,
like, and
we
this is
can-
like an extreme example, but like communists back in like the 60s and the 70s, like they were like, fuck this guy, he's done. Get it?
Communists are not right wing people.
No, they were
Not
like,
at all.
different
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
They're
But I thought you were
completely
using
different
them
ways.
as an
no,
example.
they're not right or left.
No, I was using them as an example of the right canceling people, and like obviously
I see, I
extremist
see.
views. But
I see.
the point. Yeah,
I see.
we've always canceled people. It's just now the internet is.
Yeah, well, the ability
Everywhere.
to cancel people is far different than it once was, right?
Yeah.
When everything can be instantly identified and lives can be ruined so quickly and easily.
Yeah,
And I have a thing about cancel culture, a theory that is very similar to like road rage and internet like trolling in general is very much like a lack of control to actually like do something. And so there's a hyper participation with going like overboard and not seeing and feeling a reaction properly. And you just keep going and pushing and pushing.
I think cancel culture, from what they're trying to prevent from happening, is actually breeding something 10 times worse.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right? You're canceling Andrew Tate. You're canceling Dan Bilzerian. All these like macho guys surrounded by girls. You know, this, that. Is having a seesaw effect where you go too heavy on something. It's catapulting that movement. There's like
Well, that's why Andrew Tate got so
a
big.
movement of like real misogynistic, like
Yeah,
you know, maybe not what Dan and Andrew Tate are, but that because of the cancellations, creating this whole group of angry, like porn addicted fucking guys that, you know, they're coming out with a mission
yeah.
because of how bad things are looking against them.
Yeah, that's not good. And I feel like it's not a recipe for a good looking future when you have that kind of judgment and just dim outlook for men.
I have the dimmest outlook on that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Like battle of the sexes and stuff like that. Like I was watching Bill Maher, and he I don't know if he coined the term, but it was like
You like Bill Maher?
I do actually. I think I think he's a public Democrat, but he's actually pretty down the middle. I like the fact that he kind of can make fun of Democrats for stuff, right?
Yeah.
Some shows are just boring. Some are entertaining.
Is he a public? That's funny.
I don't know. I would say he's
he's
changed a lot over time. No, I think more recently he's become more right wing, but he was traditionally Democratic.
But as somebody who's moving from right to left, like I think that's a really healthy thing. Like to identify as one political party for 80 years is ridiculous. Yeah, like honestly ridiculous. You should bounce back and forth. Like because they're going to do things that aren't good.
But why should you bounce back and forth?
Assuming that the leaders of those political parties do
you shouldn't
as they
bounce
have
back
been
and
doing.
forth. You should be able to think where you want to go left.
I agree with you on that.
The reason why is because they swing it too far on one side.
Yeah.
Which is why
so somebody said,
you just
so extremes should not maybe happen. But I do feel like if your values are a certain and values shouldn't necessarily change, right? Yeah.
But you're leaning if you keep your values the same. Ideally, and the political spectrum.
You shouldn't be locked in.
Swings, yeah.
You shouldn't be locked in.
You should be able to think on your own and
make
vote
decisions, right? Yeah, based on learning.
I have heard people, now I don't know because I wasn't into politics in the 80s, like I was a kid, but like Democrats of the 80s are now Republican. A lot of them. Their ideologies, their values, maybe not, abortion or whatever, but a lot of the stuff they're saying is like today's Republican.
Well, like the old liberals were all about
Democrat
freedom,
or vice versa. Yeah,
yeah. I don't know, man. It's changed from the
they
days
need to get that immigration shit
of
Canadian one.
Daddy Trudeau.
No, I don't know much about the Canadian. I know the American one.
Oh, okay.
It's just funny how some of that stuff works. Like a lot of the immigrants turn conservatives when they go to the States.
Why?
That is so interesting.
I have family. They went, like, we came to Canada. They went to the States, and they were like, immigrants. You're going into a foreign country. You're a visible minority. And
like,
as soon as they get in, they're like, oh, wow, this is a land we never, like, we saw in movies. We've never seen this. And it's like your own family members want to get in. It's like, no. You shouldn't come in. You're immigrants. It's like, you're one of them. How soon did you forget? Like, that's literally how they are, right?
Crazy.
And I hear that I have a lot of, like, Latino friends, and they say that's kind of how they are. They cross, they get in. They're like, no, you shouldn't get in. Like,
what's their thought process behind that?
It's that
they just understand.
You're coming from an oppressed society or whatever. You make it to the land. You want to enjoy it. You think if your brother or family does, it's going to dilute your experience or something. Right?
They do. There is like the main interesting difference between like the American culture, like immigrant culture, and like Canadian one is that like Canada is like a melting pot.
Need a beer?
Yeah. They like basically. Thank you. People move to Canada and they keep all of their beliefs and all of their customs and all of their culture.
Okay, as an immigrant, can I say I don't really like that?
Where
keeping your stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say so in the States, it's like you can come here, but you have to play by our rules. Whereas in Canada, it's
that's kind of the way it should be.
I kind of like that.
I kind of like that.
As an immigrant, I
think it's great to keep your identity and like traditions and culture. But if you're gonna be a part of something and truly
appreciate
embrace
where
it,
you are and what they land. That's
why move somewhere if you want to bring your own?
Correct.
Right, and it's okay to keep your own, but don't resist. And try to put a wall up,
and that's what
around,
creates divisiveness,
right?
And extremist
that's what creates
groups
hate
and hatred.
Yeah.
Like I believe all of that comes in from that. If you create a nice inclusive environment, I always support that.
Not you? No,
not a fan of inclusivity.
I think people are too afraid to be this is a big thing for me. I feel that people do not want to be authentic with their thoughts on these matters because they're terrified of how
scared.
People
their
feel.
Their friend might hear the podcast and be like, I can't be friends with you anymore. Bye.
Yeah. Because that's what cancel culture is teaching people.
I know.
Yeah. Right? It's making you worry about
person, though.
Yeah.
But it's making you look for things to get triggered at.
People grow, right? Like growing up on the internet, seeing these people grow and then getting absolutely destroyed. Like you're not like you watch that. Like my little brother
over and over again.
And you're like, I don't want that to happen to me. I better not say these bad things, even though I mean, that's just like a side effect of the culture
It's crazy
of
to
the
me.
internet, though.
I hate it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good from the internet, but there's also a lot of bad.
Yeah.
It all depends how
Any
you
tool,
utilize
right?
it. Yeah,
You
yeah,
can use
yeah.
a hammer to kill a man.
Go on.
I've tried.
There's a Nancy Pelosi joke there somewhere.
What did you feel like as again, I here we are exactly on a topic where if we were to talk about coronavirus, there's an instant I don't know, there's an instant eggshell effect on around it. I know with conversations you have with all sorts of people, because it's been, you know, such a whirlwind of opinions around it, and it gets very heated. It's almost like abortion or religion.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it gets
In
very
some
heated very
circles.
quickly. And I'm asking you, Arby, what you think the problem was with that too, with questioning the narrative and things like that. Like, what was your stance on listening to other information about whatever the mainstream was saying about what was going on and vaccines and everything?
I plead the fifth. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Afraid of getting canceled, you bitch.
Mom, are you listening to this? So, I mean, there's a lot of views. I don't think we'll ever know where it came from, personally. I've gone back and forth where I've thought it's come from, what's it called, the wet markets or something like that. That's a possibility. I have friends that are in school for science, and they've given me like their breakdown where I think it was a pangolin. I didn't even know that was an animal.
Yeah.
A pangolin pooped and it fell into like right on the bottom, which was a bat, and a bat ate it, and somehow something where, like, it's been a few years now. But it came from that. And the way they described
Sounds
it,
like
I
the
was
beginning of
like,
a Disney book.
well, you got your shit together. And then they told me like how, you know, mad cow disease or H1N1, like everything's kind of derived from animals. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then I listened to the other side that said it was from a lab. You know, there's these labs in Wuhan where they actually test viruses, and they like basically, I guess, engineer these viruses to use it as weapons or whatever, and that leaked, whether it was on purpose or not.
But what do you think? My question is more on, besides all that stuff, like where it came from and all that, what is the fear that people have in talking about it? Like, what is the fear in telling people?
Oh, they don't. I think they don't want to offend. It's almost like, you believe what you believe what you believe, I believe what I believe. Let's not talk about it.
But don't you think you need to risk being offensive?
I don't know. Do you? Like, at this point, do we really need to talk about Corona? It's
well,
like,
coronavirus perhaps doesn't necessarily need to be discussed in detail at this point, but I feel like in general, if there are things you believe in or you believe you know about based on experiences that you have or you feel strongly about, don't you think you need to risk being offensive in order to think and in order to communicate? Because what's the point of having conversations with people that you agree with all the time? What is the point?
I agree with that.
Are you going to expand your thinking ever?
But now, I don't know if I've just become immune to it or not. I don't believe that to be a topic that's going to give me any sort of value.
Yeah, and I can understand that certain topics people have explored them themselves already and kind of come to a conclusion where it's like, okay, I'm tired of this, because
I know people
it's so
that
hard
today
to
will say it never happened.
Yeah,
the pandemic literally never happened. It was,
well, it happened.
It was manufactured. It was a fear tactic by big pharma.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard so many different things. Maybe I've heard so many different. I'm just like, I don't want to talk about it. You believe what you believe. But there's other things. You want to talk about health, fitness, whatever. I'm all in. I'll give you my opinion and, you know, all that stuff. Just with the COVID stuff, like, I'm fucking over it.
Yeah. Is there other topics that you think about that hold that type of weight? I mean, COVID was such a big one.
This was
huge.
It just impacted so many different things.
Honestly, Trump.
Of your everyday life.
For me
Trump was a big
personally.
one. Trump was a very big one.
I don't like talking about Trump.
Why?
Because
because of the stress from arguments?
Yeah. Like,
It
because
goes
I
deep.
genuinely
The people that like him, like really
they,
like him.
love him. And,
And,
I'm like,
yeah.
he's an asshole. Like, he's an actual asshole. Like, so I just don't
So what
like
do you,
him.
this is great though. Like, why do you think that people that love him like him so much? Do you conglomerate that into like thinking that all these people can possibly think the same way in a very like narrow mindset, or do you think that it's like maybe there's something that about him that is actually likable.
I think there's
and lovable.
Yes, obviously he's hilarious. One,
Yeah.
like
Good entertainment.
he's a great entertainer,
Shouldn't have
very
been the
funny,
president, I don't
and he
think.
says, I mean, like every person like that, he says things once in a while, and even the most left-leaning liberal will be like, "Oh yeah, he was right on that one," like the German gas thing.
Yeah.
Like, you can't watch that video
Biden's
now.
still using a lot of his immigration policies.
Yeah,
Yep,
like
yep.
so I think that yes, he has that like foundation. But I think that there's such a distrust.
Have
like,
you
just,
seen
like,
the
a
early videos
hatred.
of Trump? But when he was younger,
When he
talking
was a
about wanting to
Democrat?
be president,
Yeah.
yeah, he sounded amazing back then. Like
Well,
he
I'd be a
sounded like
Democrat.
nothing like he.
I'd be a Democrat because the Republicans, I mean, they're dumb. It's just quite, quite what it is.
He was.
He was a
Very
lot more
soft-spoken,
soft-spoken. Yeah.
My problem with the Trump supporter, like the radical,
Mhm.
is that they can't admit anything was not said right by him, or like he can't do.
So I disagree. I've definitely come across those people.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like he can literally say the N word and this and that and be like, fuck
yeah, right. They
fuck
support
yeah,
him on
he's the best.
everything.
Like,
There's like no their
and
ethics
that,
go
to
out
me,
the window.
just means
Yeah.
like your door's shut.
Yeah.
There's no creek where you can not argue, but just speak about it and like.
Yeah.
There's also so much like conspiracy theories surrounding opposition to him that it's difficult to have a conversation with like somebody who's like really
her up.
in on it.
Lock her up.
Yeah, like there
How about
it gets
the emails?
difficult because they'll be like, "Oh, but what about this one email from this chain?" And I'm like, I don't know,
Yep.
man. He made fun of a dude who had,
I can tell you,
I couldn't believe that.
I am somebody
Yeah.
who.
yeah,
Oh my!
right. And I'm like,
God,
how
man.
can this guy?
What are you talking about?
There was a reporter. Was he a reporter? Yeah, and he had, I don't know what his condition was, but his
He had a
arm-
physical
Yeah.
disability.
Yeah, without doing what Trump did, his arm was like this. And
Dude,
Trump,
he
like,
did so much
laughed
stuff.
at him.
And what's crazy is like people think it's funny, but it shouldn't be for a presidential candidate.
Yeah.
That's the
Look at my
yeah.
African American over there. Like, can
That's
you
what
think
it-
of anybody not
Yeah.
Trump doing that, or somebody that was a Democrat doing that? The
Yeah, I
Republicans
think
would
he's-
have had a field day with that.
He's definitely like lived a certain lifestyle and been I don't know, exposed to certain things as a like cutthroat businessman as well.
Yeah.
Where he's always been wealthy and he's always had to be aggressive, and as a result it's turned him into someone who doesn't see the world the same way that the average person does at all. He doesn't answer accountability wise the same way that most people do. So
Doesn't
he's
pay his
naturally
debts,
not
yeah.
going to be the same type of guy that you want him to be. That's the reason he won.
Yeah.
They
Which
were
is-
tired of
yeah.
politicians who go up and tell you stories, man.
Yeah.
They're
And, like,
actors.
have their fake
come
smiles.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
they're so scripted where it's like I get it that they might actually have certain beliefs that align with that script, but I do feel like it's a game to them that's all about getting the votes and having your support. It's not about actually giving two shits about what you're doing. It's
Yeah.
about just staying in power, getting what
Looking
you
up
want
to
for yourself.
the
And
leader
Yeah,
of
and
North
well,
Korea,
that's why
yeah.
people follow him so hard is because they have such a distrust for these people. They can see through the fake smiles and the kissing the babies on the foreheads. and,
I
like,
find
and
it
they're
really
sick of
sad though that people can't talk, like that Trump has become this thing that can't be discussed in a like there isn't a lot of leeway to have in conversations with people, especially in Canada. I find
Yeah.
people are so closed minded
Yeah.
to Trump and any defense of him.
I
don't defend his antics, like when he says ridiculous like offensive things that sometimes might get a laugh, but like for the most part, again, someone in his position, it's just like, how the hell
it's
is
kind
this
of the
guy doing
Kanye
this?
thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
In what do you mean by that?
well, there was one time he was sitting down and the mic was running and he was like, look at the Canadians. They've been stealing from us for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like, to his radical supporters, fuck Canada. Like, all of a sudden, like, they meet somebody Canadian at a bar, they might fucking smash him, kill him, whatever.
Yeah.
'Cause
But was he
Trump
telling
said-
the truth though? Like,
I don't know.
if he
have we
believes
been
that,
stealing from,
but if he believes that, if he sees it as a, if
but that's
you,
kind of
but
a lot
if-
of the things Hitler did, right? Like, you paint a picture that
I don't know about that.
everyone's
I
out
don't-
to get you and this and that, and that's how you believe that you should act the way you're acting because it's in retaliation of somebody coming at you. Like, it's
your back's up against.
I don't,
the wall.
I don't think
have to
he.
do
I don't
this.
think he
Right?
went out on camera and said that about Canada. I think that if
He did.
it
You
was
probably
taken out of
find the clip.
context, in a clip, you don't know really what's being said from start to finish per se.
We also don't know what he's talking about.
Right. I think it's
How about the
unfair.
Mexicans
It's too
bringing
easy.
in the
Well,
drug
that
dealers
That
and
was
the
really
rapists?
bad.
but
that was so
that was
bad.
bad, but I honestly, I'll say this.
but
No, there's a but to it. I'll take this. I'll take the heat for this,
Go
which
ahead,
was
Senior.
like I've listened to that so many times because the backlash from that was fascinating to me at the time, and I'm like, what did he actually say? Unless the Mandela effect got me
They're
on
not
this.
sending their best.
Right.
They're not sending their lawyers.
They're not sending their
doctors.
best, right? But he's saying they're sending
But
such
who's
and such.
sending? This is
and
families
he's saying,
trying to like get out.
No,
of,
he's-
like,
he's-
really really bad.
Yeah, but I don't think that that's fair. You have to do the reading on it. You have to see what's coming over the border. Sure, there are plenty of people who are completely legitimate,
understand
good
that, but-
people who want out of the country and need to get out. But there are tons of criminals who come over. And he's trying to make a point to say, look, what we're getting over here is a lot of criminals. That's just a fact. And if it's a fact that you're getting rapists and that you're getting convicted killers and drug
Is it
dealers.
the rapists or therapists?
He said they're rapists.
I thought we weren't getting the therapist.
Yeah, but if you're defining a group of people and you're saying they're rapists, like I get it that's kind of like an illiterate way of saying that there are rapists in the
I
group.
think
But,
that's the
but aren't we
the
just playing
problem.
wordplay to attack him and say you're calling everyone rapist? You're a misogynist pig.
How
You're
the
racist.
people you're talking about are going to
xenophobic.
take it, right?
I see what you mean, but
But like
I
that's
feel
so
like
that's not I didn't get that that's what he meant at all. I get that it was a stupid way of saying it, but like
my argument would be that he's the president of the
Yeah.
United States,
Yeah.
and he needs to hold himself to a certain accountability and
Right.
speak properly.
okay, but
the
Yeah.
Muslim ban,
I don't know about the Muslim ban. I can't.
I do
totally speak to
remember
that.
it, but it was very like
and it's countries that had never had a history of any terrorist attacks in the U.S.
that was like one of his first things he did too, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the last time I was in the States was
Well, in fairness,
2016, September.
again, and I will say that I know nothing really about this, so for
Yeah.
me to even comment on it is almost asinine. I think, no, I think
Go
this. I do think that a lot of people in these positions make decisions, even though they might seem absolutely ridiculous on surface level on TV, that
They believe they're
no,
doing the
that
right thing
if
for
you're
the
given
country.
information, if you are the person in charge who literally is advised that this is a problem, we're having this problem based on this here and this here and this here, and you're saying yes, it's predominantly these Muslim countries where we've had a problem with this terrorism, regardless of whether it's true or false. If you're being fed the information from your trusted team,
Yeah.
or you have real intelligence to show you something, and so you say, okay, we can't really identify all the threats. The only thing we can do is to say, until we sort this out, we have to put a ban on all of this because it will stop them. If they're getting in through plenty of innocent countries that have nothing to do with it, but the bad ones are being circumvented somehow, what are you going to
Through
do?
that?
I'm just saying there's always two sides to look at the
Yeah,
stories.
well,
that's-
and then he
I-
goes on and he's like, "We're gonna call it this crazy thing so that everybody listens to it."
Right, and he's what do you call that? Like a sensationist, where everything he says has to be like these very where
everything's the
it's
greatest in the world, or this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
I've talked to everything is like polar.
That's where
ends of
Donnie Jr.
spectrum,
comes
right?
from. Yeah.
So
hate against my father.
yeah, it's extreme. I mean, I don't think anybody has had the negative attention that Trump has. I can't think of another person who comes close.
I think Hitler got it pretty bad.
That's
Michael
a
Jackson.
different story. Different story. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you're saying though. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he really got it.
Yeah.
He went through it. He got
I mean,
banned on
I think he
Twitter.
affected a
He
lot
was
of
the
people's
first
lives in a
person-
negative way. That's why.
Was he the first person who was like actually truly 100% banned?
So
I don't think so.
From
Actually,
Twitter?
now that I'm saying that. Out loud.
I don't know. I don't think he
That
was the
doesn't
first
sound
person.
right.
He definitely was maybe the first president,
President, yeah.
and probably the only president to ever get
Yeah.
banned. But doesn't
But that
Kim,
was crazy. He
Didn't
was
Kim
banned-
Jong still have an account?
ISIS still, I think,
Right.
had
Like,
one.
but how does that happen? How do you? What's the answer to that?
That's a
I actually
problem.
don't know. I shouldn't answer
Elon
that. or I
Musk is
shouldn't
the answer.
question that because I don't
Elon.
know if they do
Thank
or not.
you,
Elon, baby, Elon.
Muskie Daddy.
Elon.
Yeah.
And people like
What a crazy
Whoopi
character.
Goldberg saying, "I'm leaving Twitter now," like because they're trying.
Actually,
to
a lot
cancel
of
it? Like
big
what?
businesses pulled out until they realize what he's going to do.
Yeah,
platform.
but why
I
are they
think
pulling
GM
out? What do you
pulled
think that's about?
Oh, that,
well, they're just stopping their funding for commercials and stuff until they figure out what they want to do.
Because they're worried it's going to go straight to Tesla.
They don't want to pay that $8 a month.
No, they're worried it's going to go to Tesla. That's what they're worried about. That's a competitor.
He just sold $4 billion worth of Tesla shares.
Yeah, he's got
Yeah.
things to pay for.
transfer. Yeah.
Yeah.
poor guy.
What do you think's the future of Tesla? By the way, do you think the stock's going to keep like plummeting?
Oh, I think it's going to fucking rise big time. I think Tesla's going to be a beast. I
Like
think
a
Tesla's going to
$200-300
destroy everybody.
Like,
I think it's a
at
tech
181,
company.
I think right now.
Yeah, I think it's a great buy right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
$200.
It's definitely a buy in my my advisor book. I by no means am a credited
Sorry, I want to
financial
go back
advisor.
to Tate. I don't think we.
Tate,
I don't
yeah,
know
go ahead.
anything about Tate, so I need to feed off what you guys.
Misha or Andrew,
Andrew.
Misha.
Who's Misha?
the UFC fighter? No,
Misha Tate?
Yeah,
Is that Andrew's brother?
no, but
I
could
think
be.
it's a
Because
joke.
I think Andrew
Yeah.
Tate has a brother.
Yes, yeah. He has a bro.
I can't keep up.
There's a
I don't know the bro's
going on
name.
It's a lot of
with that, eh?
Tates. Yeah.
No. Andrew
I
Tate,
drink whiskey. I fuck bitches.
Bugatti. Yeah, he's
He's a character.
What do you want to know?
He's an actual character.
Is he still fighting?
No,
Retired?
correct. He's in his
injured?
mid to late 30s. Sorry?
Oh, is he really? I thought he's like in his mid 20s.
No. He's 35.
And what was
I
he?
think,
UFC
36.
fighter?
No, he's a kickboxer.
Kickboxer.
Legit world champion kickboxer.
And what's he doing with himself now?
He's
Like,
an
how's he-
entrepreneur and he's a I would say he's a viral commentator. He's just appearing on videos everywhere on.
So that
And he
is
got
all part
canceled
of his
or
plan. He
canceled?
Yeah,
actually, it's-
supposedly. What you talking about the podcast on Nelk Boys or what?
no, okay, so it's actually really he's from a business
Yeah.
social media standpoint, he's a fucking genius. He has one the
Randy
way that
joined the
like,
war room.
Yeah. The way
Wake
that
up,
like,
Randall.
you like okay. He will like say crazy shit, and then his audience capture grows as he says crazy
Yeah.
shit.
Okay,
'Cause
let's
I'll
start
be
saying
like,
some
oh, look
crazy
at this,
shit now.
look at
Kanye.
this, honestly though.
Yeah.
And then you know of his name and blah blah blah, and then you start seeing his
But
videos.
it always happens. It happens every guy who follows this
Yeah.
exploit of crazy shit. Conor McGregor, his rise in the UFC was because he was
He
like
talks
that.
so much shit.
But that's
Yeah,
everybody
but
who's
he's just weaponizing that.
Yeah.
So like as you go down and you start following his Instagram page, he starts like advertising his.
he has an Instagram page?
he
well,
did.
he did.
Not
Okay,
anymore. He's
because I was
banned
told
now.
it's banned.
Yeah, it's banned.
Yeah.
now.
Oh, so
so-
they still haven't given it back
No.
to him?
So he has this
Is he on
business
Twitter?
called. No,
I don't think he's banned.
I don't think.
Well, I don't know
so.
now with Elon. I'm not sure what the deal
Holy
is, but
shit, they
he
literally
was
canceled
banned.
everything.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah,
Full
his
ban.
YouTube channel, everything.
Everything.
No way.
So he
YouTube
had a
too?
Yeah, he had a business called or has one called Hustlers University.
Yeah.
and it's basically like a Discord server where you have to pay $50 a month to have access.
Okay,
And
my
they
friend
teach
told me
you-
about this.
they
He makes
teach
like
you
50
how to
grand a
get
month
rich.
just off this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and all it is.
I would love to make 50 grand a month.
Yeah, all it is like
good
they just
income.
like teach you like very basics of business and economics, like things that you can just.
Yeah,
like,
it's
go
just
on
as an
YouTube.
entrepreneur, like.
But he's
what-
not certified in any way to. Not that I'm.
I don't think he is, but I think he's got
so.
very successful, real business folks
And
supposedly
what, because
partaking
of that,
in it.
that's what got him canceled?
No, okay, so yeah, I mean he's canceled because he
I was like,
says
fuck, man.
he kept on saying crazy
That's
shit.
it, man. Can't get anyone rich.
But
these
like
days.
the reason why
So he
he's
offended people.
yes,
yeah,
Technically.
But, so he
So-
has multiple ways. of
Randy's
promoting.
trying, and Arby's
I know,
like,
I'm
"Get to the point, Randy."
No, I want to know what got him canceled. I don't know.
Yeah, what
I
got
don't-
him?
I don't know
I
the
would argue. I
actual-
would argue what got him canceled was the degree of which his what was being interpreted as him being a very what's
Toxic masculinity.
yes, yeah, promoting toxic
It's
masculinity,
offensive.
telling stories.
sex
There was a
with
video
girls.
that came out about him basically like choking a girl out with a belt or something, or having sex, like beating her.
Oh, yeah.
And there were stories about him like holding someone captive. But these things,
There's text messages of her actually asking for that. Sorry.
yeah, basically, yeah. That's the problem is these things were coming forward to a degree where like big companies and things are saying we can't be associated with this.
Okay, I could see that.
Oh, so they were
This
pulling
misogynistic,
out of advertising on, like-
toxic male like
platforms?
thing that he's promoting, this incel movement almost. That's what he was
Incel.
being tied with.
That's exactly the coin, the term that I was saying, Bill Maher. involuntarily celibate
Yeah.
men. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
They're wild.
Segue to go back to that.
Yeah.
That's it's like a growing thing where they're just like porn addicted. They can't get a date.
They
like,
hate women.
Right, but
They
he's
hate
saying,
women.
but he's trying to say that
oh, I didn't know they.
part of the reason for
Oh,
this
yeah.
is because of
Because they
what
can't
what
get laid.
society's
And then
doing to men. Like we are
What's
teaching
the word?
men.
Emasculating us.
Yeah,
Is that
we
the
are.
word?
Yeah, emasculating or what's the other word? They chop off your dick.
Castrate.
Castrate.
Circumcision. He said. I only chop off a piece there.
It's a citizens
I
castration.
know how you
Yeah.
feel about that.
A little piece of ham on the sandwich.
Yeah.
So
Take a little off the top, Doc.
we Jesus. Anyway, castrating these men too, perhaps, where you're basically making it not okay for men to be men, is what he kind of argues in certain men. And honestly, there's plenty
or a
of
certain
it.
type of man. Not all men are going to be that.
What is that supposed to mean?
Not every man wants to choke out girls and
No, but he's not trying to say every man wants to choke out girls.
Gotcha.
He's
it's just
try-
that's what
right.
we're
He's of
feeling
course like
society's
anybody
doing
will
to
take
us.
comments that come out or thing or behavior that was witnessed, and they're extremes of somebody, and they're like thrown to the top of the list to everyone to point and say, this is what they are. Like, look at the worst part of him. This is what you want. And it's like, fuck, if someone could comb through your life and look for the worst parts of what you've done, tell me you
you're
wouldn't be a
canceled
fucking
100%.
canceled piece
Canceled
of shit.
100%.
Yeah.
Right? We're all like guilty of being very like.
It's also very tough to be a man right now. I know.
yeah,
I'll
but
get
why is it
canceled
tough?
for saying that.
Why is it tough?
Well, one for that. I'm getting a little off my topic here, but
That's okay.
like
I like it. You're saying it's tough to be a man. What is it?
it is.
What is it that's
is.
making you feel
I'm
that's
trying to word it right. So I'm hearing girls just at the gym, grocery store, whatever, you chit chat and you listen in. Gays and girls, they can say the most foul shit, and it's totally
Right.
acceptable. You're not allowed to frown on anything they're saying.
Who's not allowed to frown? Men or people?
Well, just people, society.
Yeah.
But if a guy was to say half of what they're saying,
A
it's
guy?
like
Or you mean
we
a
get
straight guy?
a straight,
Yeah.
we get canceled immediately. I was listening to
Give me an example.
3 friends of mine, girls, and they were talking, and they're all bragging how they have multiple men that they're dating. They're not really serious with any of them.
And they're sleeping
And
with these
they're-
men.
Yeah, they're looking to get serious. They're looking for a boyfriend, but they're like, so and so makes me laugh. This guy's got a mad dick game, but he's got no personality. And this guy, this, that. And the way they're talking, which I don't find any issues with, but guys can't talk that way. Oh, so and so is great in bed, but she's boring as shit. Oh,
Yeah.
I love her because she's career oriented.
Sure.
She's got her shit together, but she's boring.
Sure,
as shit.
sure.
You know what I mean? If we talk that way, we're misogynistic.
Right,
we're
right.
assholes. We're
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
girls.
I get that.
But girls are allowed to talk that way. Totally fine. And then,
But who decided that?
well,
I think they did.
Who's they?
I don't
The
know.
women?
Someone
I
woke
think
up and
that's
was
the-
like, I'm
But there's
offended
almost
by
this like there's almost this
a governing body or something.
Yeah,
right?
it's almost like
yeah,
I used to
know.
say
all
the
in
government.
cloaks.
The government used to say the man, right? Like, or the government used to say people would say the government is the man, or like they is like the people in control or power, or the man behind the curtain, so to speak. But I'm arguing that half the time this is a fabrication. Like I think the reality is this is why the cancel culture is kind of failing right
It's
now.
because it doesn't work.
Because I don't think it is as accepted as people once thought it was. Like
Well,
nobody wants to cancel
Look
people
at Dan
nowadays.
Bilzerian.
They're
Look
starting
at
to say,
Dave
"What the
Chappelle.
fuck are we talking about?"
Who else can I think of? They've tried to cancel them multiple times.
Yeah.
But the person they're trying to cancel couldn't care less.
Well, that's why canceling doesn't actually work, and
Go
it
ahead,
only
cancel
you
me,
only end
like-
up canceling people who have enough of like
care.
a heart
Yeah,
that they
yeah, that's right.
feel bad.
And
but as soon as
every
you have
day
someone
you
who
see them
doesn't
next
feel
day
bad-
on
Yeah.
social media apologizing for something, apologizing
If you-
again,
yeah.
apologizing again, apologize. Like, stop it. Like,
Yeah.
which means actually that it's probably going to get a lot worse. There's going to be a lot of crazier people online.
So
because they're acknowledging it and
Because those are the only
apologizing
people that
for
will
it.
stay
It's
no
like,
matter
dude,
what.
it was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, or, John Wayne. Like, go watch his movies from the 50s or 60s
Andrew
or
Tate-
whenever he was.
listen, has the following he does, in my opinion, because he speaks to a real not gonna say untouched, but it's an underutilized truth that men are craving and want, and especially young men, where he cuts away the bullshit and just talks about like these things at their core, and I feel like it resonates with people, so they want to listen, they want to follow it. And then, of course, to be a sensationalist, he hams things up at times and like is an extremist to where he does have the cigar and unlimited money and women all over him. And so naturally you get this thing where you're like, oh, this fucking douche turd over here dressed like this and drives this Bugatti, and he's got all these Romanian cam girls with him all the time. Whatever the case may be, he can look a certain way, but if you actually listen to what he says and you don't just cut and paste where you feel he said something a little bit outrageous, I feel like he's speaking a lot of truth, man. Otherwise, it wouldn't be this way.
Look, you take
he overstepped a few times, but I mean that's bound to happen when you're as viral as he is.
I don't know how many people there is. I don't know if there's a science for that, but people from 25 to 40 years old, men, straight men, with a net worth of 50 million and plus.
Yeah, that's me right there.
That don't have, anything crazy following on Instagram. They might not have an Instagram account. They're just entrepreneurs, whatever it is. You don't think they all share the exact same thoughts and values and views on life as Tate? They're just not out on podcasts.
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of them would. But I think they're silent about it. They're silent about it. They don't want to talk about it. But he's not saying go do cocaine and buy Ferraris. He's saying
no. But the guy
he's trying to say that it's a very hypocritical world we live in these days, and men need to stand up and take back a piece of being a strong, dependable man who can protect his family and his woman. And women have a certain role as well that they are, I think, being steered too far away from. And I think this is what gets people.
He's fairly intelligent, though.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, like I've only seen one or two clips of him, but he seems like he's fairly intelligent. The problem with that is the person that's watching him that's highly influential, influenceable. I don't know what the word is.
Influenceable.
Easily influenced.
Yeah.
That isn't. And he is thinking that he's actually bashing women and saying, go out there and be the biggest asshole you can be.
Yeah,
because his delivery is like angry when he's talking. But
you can't change your...
But you can't blame him for the way the person is taking that.
That's the same thing with, like, where is your take on gun control?
It wavers back and forth.
Yeah.
If you want a gun, it's fine. If you go within the right
way of getting it.
You can't just walk into a Walmart and buy a gun.
No.
I don't think that's fair. There should be some sort of governing body that says, this guy's got a history of mental health.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have a gun. Age limit, I would say, you should be able to.
But you think we should be able to have them here?
I think so.
What do you think about the handgun ban?
Background check, this, that. I don't know if that does anything. I don't think you should be able to buy assault rifles. You don't need something that sprays 600 rounds per second.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want a gun, sometimes
sometimes
I'm in a mood. I'm like, fuck it. You should let everybody have a gun. Carry it on you. You leave it in your car.
Well, a lot of people argue that keeps things safer. I don't know what the statistics are per se, but
yeah,
Why do you ask about the gun?
I ask about it because
that's another big topic, right versus left too. I believe.
Yeah.
The gun control.
Yeah.
Because I was going to get to the point where he was saying if the person saying the message is being blamed because of the way someone else is receiving that message,
it's not their fault.
Yeah, and it's sort of like if a person picks up a gun and does something crazy with it, is it the gun's fault? Because the gun can.
That's going to the whole. Guns don't kill people. People kill people.
And it's true. It is true. But I mean, there's obviously extremes to everything and exceptions to everything. So
that's what the left loves to take and make examples.
100%.
Right.
And I mean, there's all kinds of political agendas behind gun control. But I think that 100% what you said, I agree with.
I think in the States it's a little bit.
I think you need to have
extreme situation just with the payoffs and stuff.
We have licensing for cars where you have to take tests, you have to be a certain age, you can do lessons with such and such.
You got to go through that,
and
that's, I would have to say
right. And I would say it should be 2 or 3 times that for a weapon.
I agree. Okay,
but once you've gone through like a schooling and a rigorous background vetting, if someone wants to have a weapon, you don't think they're going to find a way to kill people? This guy rented a van and ran people over.
Yeah,
killed 10 people. Like anything can become a weapon in a fucking heartbeat.
Yeah.
You can't.
So you're trying to say that the guns they do make it easy. But there are plenty of things that can make it easy, and I think that I'm not advocate for guns here, but I'm just saying
Yeah,
you
no, I
don't
know.
blame that. People do take things and with their own behavior.
Yeah.
But I've heard
distort
the argument.
fuck out
It's
of
like,
it.
okay, well, if you want to regulate it to that extent, where it's like you can have a gun, but I think you have to have it in a safe.
Yeah.
It can't be accessible by a kid
100%.
or whatever. So it's like
What do
if
you do
somebody's
with all
breaking
that?
into your home,
Yeah.
it's going to take you 7 minutes
I think
to get into the safe and do anything. Do you actually really need it?
I think
a baseball bat
the
on
main
your
reason
bat
why
might
I
be
would
a
ever
bit
have
better.
one is in case, and a lot of people will like brush this off and like
Maybe
maybe
not in rural areas
it's
though.
fine.
Like you could be in a
But-
whole other situation, which I can explain. But
Yeah.
The main reason why I would want one and want a lot of people to have them is if the government tries to like take over in a way, like in a different way. Like if they're like, we're switching to communism now, or we're gonna
Right,
be
right.
we're fascist.
Wouldn't
Right.
you just move?
Where?
where you
the-
think you're going to be able
Yeah.
to move at that point?
Mexico.
If that's being
Oh.
said,
Well, I left that situation
Right.
in Iran when the revolution happened,
Right.
and I saw what my parents had to do to get us out
well,
of there.
so
It
I
wasn't an easy
and I would
situation.
love to hear more about
Yeah.
that because I want to know. I want to know about the reality behind situations like that. I'll but also like there's so many things I want to talk about. And how are we doing for time, by the way? Well, we got half an hour.
We're at hour 15.
We got a half an hour. Yeah, that's it. Josh sent me an article, by the way. See what he said.
Kanye West has
So-
claimed bankruptcy.
Oh, a new lab made COVID-19 corona.
Do you
at Boston University.
think
Yeah.
And sorry if I'll just speak as
You can't-
fast
don't
as
need to
possible, that way I
apologize.
don't
yeah, no.
just like, blah blah blah. Okay, so would you want people in your home country to have guns so that they could fight back against an oppressive government?
No, I think that would have had a really bad ending if we had guns.
Oh,
What was the ending, though?
It was better to just get the hell out of there. It was pretty tumultuous, actually. So we were living in Iran, and then the revolution happened. My dad was building an airport there. We had a nice life. We had 2 houses, cars, and stuff like that.
how old were you?
We left in 1982. I think the revolution started in 79. So I was like 3 or 4. And then by the time we left, I was 6. But my dad had to get a lot of paperwork and, I don't know, illegal stuff to get us out of there. My first recollection was the Hezbollah came and took him one night and they threw him in jail. And the jail, he said, was literally like, it was carved in a stone, like with gates on it. It was like a cave. And I remember my mom crying frantically. I think her friend came over and they packed clothes in a garbage bag and sent it to him so that he could stay there. I think he was there for a week because he was working. This airport he was building was affiliated to a European company or something like that. And the regime that was taking over, anything that wasn't Islamic, you were being held under some sort of
Like anti-government
law or
terrorist,
anti-government law
yeah.
or something that they had implemented. So the reason was my brother was turning 13. And back then, if you were 13, they could knock on your door and just snatch the 13-year-old and take him to the army. So what they were doing with 13 to 15-year-olds, they were putting him in the front line because there was some sort of a war going on, I think with Iraq or something like that. So they would deploy the kids to
Iran
walk.
versus Iraq.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Or
that's what
something.
it was. And they would deploy the kids on the front line. So the kids were in charge of running through where the tanks were going to go, but they would let off the mines,
Right.
the lion mines or whatever.
Holy.
So there was literally babies, like 13-year-old kids, like with limbs and stuff missing on the warpath,
Battlefield, yeah.
so that the tanks could go through. So when my dad heard that that's what was happening, he was like, I don't care if we have to leave our house, leave our money in the bank, like we're
Yeah.
getting the hell out of here, right? So he collected us all to go. And I vaguely remember the airport was such a frantic scene because you had to like pay to get on the airplane because everything was so monitored. There was like literally like not cops, but there was like Hezbollah.
Sounds
with
like
guns
when
monitoring.
Afghanistan they were trying to get out of there. It sounded
It was
awful,
pretty
man.
fucked. And we were there. We could see the plane that we're supposed to get on. Well, now they want to check passports or something like that. So me, my brother, and my mom got on. And I've actually looked to people to see if I can publish this into a book or a movie or something. So they take all the family leaders' passports, and they're looking through all of them I think to be like, okay, you can go kind of thing. And I remember everybody on the plane crying. My mom's crying. Like we're looking out the window. I can see my dad. They throw everyone's passports on the ground. They're like, okay, you guys are good to go. Well, now everybody, like, there's like 60 guys looking through passports. My dad's happened to be the last one over. Sorry if I get emotional talking about this. But the plane's on. We're about to start leaving. And like I can't leave my dad because I know he's dead if he stays, right? He got on right as the door's closing and we left. And then as we're flying away, I'm looking and we're leaving a life. We have no idea we knew where we were going because that was like a part of the stuff that my dad had like made sure. Arranged, exactly. We were going to Belgium to live with my uncle until we figured out what was going on. And I was 6 years old. I can vaguely remember because I think my brother was just stunned. He was like, everything like was leading up to it was kind of slow. But when it actually happened, we're like, I'm never going to see my friends again. Like, never going to see that school, this, that. Yeah, it was pretty hard. But I didn't process any of this till just recently in 2020, I think. Emotional time for everyone. We didn't get to see family, whatever. And my dad told us the story and we're all crying. Like, you know, it was pretty nuts. So we stayed in Belgium for a couple of years. My dad, you know, got a job and whatever. We ended up coming to Canada in 1989 with $15,000 as immigrants. And like, I lived the immigrant life. I came here with nothing, wearing like scrappy clothes, got made fun of, had an accent, had to learn English, all that stuff. But I'm very thankful like that I was here and I adapted to a lot of the Canadian cultures and stuff. And that's leading back to immigrants that come here and then just stay with their own people and their own communities and basically hate Canada. Like you listen to them, they talk shit about Canada. It's like, well, why'd you come here then? Don't come here, you know? So, and I've had people get mad
Justin
at me
Trudeau.
for that. Agreeably so, thankfully, like, you know, not that he's in charge of us coming here, but if you come here, kind of be a little respectful of the culture you're joining and this and that, right? I don't know what you asked me exactly, but it was really nice to get that out.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was a good story to hear about. I never knew that about you. I've known you for a long time. I think that was about guns and saying, would you have wanted them to have guns? And you said it would have gone bad. And I think that the reality behind these situations, though, is that maybe, but if everybody had guns, they may not have gone after people the same way, right?
Hundreds of people in the streets when the rioting was happening, when the regime like was taken over. We knew we could play in the playground or in the streets. But as soon as it got dark, I remember the panic in my mom's eyes, calling me and my brother and our friends in, like coming in, because it was like just herds of people going. I can't remember what they were saying. It was Allahu Akbar and something, like they were just yelling it, but they were carrying like signs on wood with like cloth, like wearing torches and stuff. And I'm sure it was a lot of bad shit that happened. I remember going with my mom and my brother to wait for bread and milk at the end of the street, and the Hezbollah at the time, the morale police, whatever the hell they are. So like the women have to cover their head. Like if a little piece of hair shows, like they would pull you into the truck and you might disappear. You might never come back. And my mom got harassed by them a couple of times because they said she was wearing, I think, makeup on her eyebrows or something like that. But it's just a really nasty situation to be in. But if we had guns, we would have been outnumbered. And I think when they see that you have a gun, that kind of gets them going, right? It's like, okay, perfect. Like
potentially, yeah. I mean,
you see what's going on with Iran right now, right? With
the for sure, movement. For sure. I don't exactly know what's happening now, but I when it was first starting to unravel, I was following it quite a bit.
Yeah, pretty bad. Latest I seen that 14,000 people got arrested for protesting, and they just Parliament just, I don't know if they okayed it.
I saw
or
that.
they want to assassinate all 14,000 people. Yeah, that's like, it's almost like a mini genocide.
Parliament was like voted in favor. Like it was like this, like look at the democratic thing that they're,
It's nuts. And that's why I don't think the protesting works. It actually gets them riled up. It makes them even more angry.
But then
if you have to protest, you have to go full revolution, like full.
That? You get countries involved, and states doesn't want to get involved. I mean, Iran is a small country, and their currency is really depleting, but they're strong. They have some sort of a strong connection with Turkey. There's like they're supplying weapons to Russia. There's something going on that I feel like U.S. is just like.
Well, the U.S. There's a whole deep thing going on there that not a lot of people would have heard about, and it's like crazy next level war type stuff where hackers and stuff have created this insane software that they've like, the US government is supposedly the ones who created it, whether or not that's publicly been said. That's the theory online. And they've got it installed all over like Iran stuff, like in their, this is deep, and I should do more research so I can quote exactly what I'm talking about here, because it's been a while since I've read about this. But this kind of code is the kind of code you can like shut down everything, shut down communication, businesses, everything. And they did it supposedly. Sorry?
COVID.
Yeah, no, they did it supposedly to prevent them from like ever being able to fully
Sabotage.
make more nukes and more
Yeah,
nuclear, capabilities. And this is just like a sitting duck. It's like you plant the seed. This virus is infested in like everything in a certain type of software that all these big
like
companies
a Trojan
use.
horse for governments.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it's like wild what its
And
capabilities
Iran?
are. Yeah, and the U.S. has got it in Iran. So they're like,
Oh,
they're like,
okay,
we've
okay.
got this.
We'll shut you
This
down
is what
if
we
you
are
ever
worried
try.
about. Like whatever you're dealing with in your own thing, with this sort of situation, this horrible.
Yeah. If it gets way out of hand, we're gonna pull the plug.
I
on
don't
you.
know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's the way
Do
they're
you,
kind
do you know
and
a
I think
lot
they have
about
their hands.
nuclear weapons in countries?
Yeah, certainly do.
So I heard like one nuclear weapon or bomb or whatever it is good enough to wipe out.
Yeah, we were talking. You missed the episode. Josh hasn't posted it yet, but we went full nuke on the
Why do countries need 6, 7, 8 of the same thing? Like is
Of the
wiping
nuclear bombs?
the
For
world
fun.
out one time not enough? Like you have 2, we
yeah.
have 4.
That's a good question.
We have 6.
I think the problem is that you want to have so many opportunities. So there's such a deterrence
Killing
where
cockroaches, they're not fully dead.
yeah, well the
Few minutes
defenses
again.
can get through so many of them, right? So if you shoot them off and they don't work and you only have a couple, well, you're kind of screwed. if your biggest weapon is a dud, then what?
Do you think
Right.
we've seen the worst of what's
For nukes?
happening? Well, not nukes in general, but I mean, it
With Ukraine?
might lead that way. But yeah,
Unfortunately, I don't think we've seen the worst.
it's going to get worse.
I don't think even Ukraine is necessarily the big thing. I think it's Taiwan. That's the
the
real
next
fear.
one.
This is totally
That's
off topic,
quietly
but did
happening.
you see Sean Penn giving Zelensky his Oscar?
Oh God. No.
Sean Penn is doing a documentary in
Yeah, I
Ukraine,
heard about that.
and
Sean
Went,
Penn's
he had
a
a
crazy
he had a
motherfucker,
meeting with
man.
the president Zelensky, and he literally pulls it out of his backpack. He's like, "Hey, this is for you.
What does that?
Give
do?
it back to me when you win the war. Come to
Oh.
Malibu."
What the hell's that?
I was like, is that an insult telling him he's an actor, or is that?
You'd be like, "Can you do me a favor? Can you sell that thing on eBay and give me the money?"
Yeah, so that I can buy more
'Cause we
weapons,
need
so that
funds.
we can fucking.
Because if the
I-
Republicans
Look,
win the
like
Senate,
that's a
they're
whole
cutting off our
other talk
funding.
we can definitely get into. But I honestly, we need to have one on the China situation. That's
Yeah.
such a big
That'd
one.
be
man.
also very fun to research.
Such amazing, and I think that's if you think there's a chance for war in our future, that's the one that I
Yeah.
believe is most
China's
likely.
a big powerhouse, man.
Yeah,
they're slipping.
they're slipping.
Are they?
Yeah, like internally,
Yeah.
like not like yeah, like that's
Do
what
we
it
blame
it
TikTok?
seems like. No, like they have like what it
They have
seems
their own
like it's really
financial
hard
crisis.
to know.
Well, I know
but
they-
like
they
they
got
have
the
a crazy
strictest
housing
COVID,
crisis right now. Yeah, their
COVID
COVID.
restrictions are out of
So
control.
like their businesses are
it's
shutting
doubling down on that.
Their billionaires are
So
like.
I guess that conspiracy
wait,
theorist of China
what?
releasing COVID to kill off
kind of backfired
world
for them, eh?
economics isn't happening because their economics is, their economy's taking the biggest hit out of most economies out there,
Yeah, maybe that's a fair point. Unless they
right? So it's
Who
like we
knows,
need to
man?
like revisit conspiracy theorists and
sure.
cross off the ones that
weren't real.
because
Yeah, that's
some of them
fair.
I'm sure are real. Some of them are. It's like okay, we
Yeah.
need to revisit that. That didn't happen.
I don't think
That's what it
China
was.
made the coronavirus.
Maliciously.
Like release
no,
it on
I think
purpose.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
that seems crazy.
Unfortunately, I believe that the U.S. has been pulling the strings almost everywhere for.
I've heard people say
too long.
Biden was behind the COVID.
Oh,
I've heard
Biden.
people say
Biden's
Trump
behind
was.
nothing. These guys are
Well, I
behind
heard
nothing.
the one that actually like I was like, okay, I'll entertain this. Was that the Democrats did it because they couldn't stop Trump.
Yeah.
They're like, let's release it. Let's blame it on Trump,
Yeah.
I love
and
that.
that'll get people to not vote for him
That's so
if
funny.
he runs again.
Those extremes.
But
Can you
I mean,
imagine? What a
I
crazy.
could imagine. I
twist of
feel like we're
events.
living in a simulation sometimes. You think the crazier shit, and then it happens. Like,
Yeah.
Don't talk about simulation around Justin.
Yeah.
that got them going.
I was actually thinking about simulation the other day and how I don't think it's real.
What?
Because there's
World
not a,
is not real?
no, the simulation
Oh,
theory.
why is it not real?
I think it's
We'll end on
unlikely
this.
because there aren't a lot of bugs. And if you've ever played a video game, you know that you run into bugs and glitches constantly.
I would argue that.
I would argue you do see it. There's
Where?
a lot of times where I've dreamt something and I wake up and I live exactly what I just
That's-
dreamt. And I was
that's not a
that's
bug.
Deja
glitch.
vu, though.
That's not a
glitch.
bug.
No,
that's a premonition.
Yeah.
but how do you
you're a
see
medium.
that exact same thing?
But how's that a bug?
That's like a glitch of
I'd
sorts.
say
A bug would
I'd
be
say
like
a
this
glitch
goes
is
to the
like
green.
a glitch is like you
Cronenberg
all of a
one.
sudden see somebody freeze or something. That's a glitch, or they disappear.
But then-
or you wake up and all of a sudden everything's different than it was.
Yeah.
That's
That's
glitch.
not
That,
a
to be
glitch.
fair,
That's
that's
not a glitch.
That's
That's
the
like
you
a-
said it earlier. What is it called?
It's Game Genie.
The guy. Oh my God! You literally said it earlier.
I said it earlier.
Yeah,
Today I
I've seen
said
a
it?
lot of glitches, but I smoke a lot of
the
weed.
Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, Howie Mandel? You can't shake hands now.
No, not Howie.
Yeah. Nelson.
Nelson. You never heard of the Mandela effect?
Mandela effect. I've heard of it. I don't know what it is.
Oh, it's
So the Mandela effect is basically a theory that has been kind of attached to Nelson Mandela's name because some people have this strong belief that
He died.
that
He did.
No, but before
I
he
know.
died. Before he. Yeah.
yeah,
not dead?
basically that the
Who's
history
dead?
is not as we
Zed's dead.
remember it, and this one big piece of history around him. But there's so many around. Like there's a ton of Mandela effect things that are just mind blowing.
Yeah.
Actually, so we could argue the.
Do you
glitches.
believe in the butterfly effect?
What in
We
what
don't
sense?
time travel, so how would that work?
Yeah.
It's like if you were to like one little thing.
Oh,
can
100%.
cause such
It's a fact.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah?
fact. Yeah.
But, like,
that's a fascinating thing to think about for me.
Mm.
Did you watch the movie with Ashton Kutcher?
I did,
Yeah, it's real.
so handsome.
but it's like something so small. Like
100%. Anything you do could offset the entire
it
course
is
of
crazy. He
everything.
steps on a butterfly and what it's like.
That's
Right.
insane.
Look at the
Caesar,
chain
like,
reaction,
insane.
right? Like you walk out onto the street and someone makes this turn instead of that turn. They get home later than they would have, and then they don't meet somebody, and then that person doesn't do. There's the chain reaction is endless.
I like when they break those things down. I don't know, like
you like knowing about all of them.
Well,
you
I'm
want to see
thinking
them
of
on video.
sports, like more than anything, because I've been
We're
watching
gonna
a lot
make
of
Butterfly
like,
Effect
what
2
if this trade
just
never
for you.
happened, or what if this trade did happen? Like it sets off like a course of like
I don't like thinking about
things
it
could
in
be
my own life.
completely different.
Like if
No,
I,
no,
if
that's
I
What
not
if
good.
didn't-
LeBron
I didn't go
James
work
didn't make
here-
up stories and
Well,
lies
I'm just
about
thinking of
silly
that 'cause,
things?
that Chris Paul trade with Kobe, like if that impacted so many different things in the NBA. And I watched a video on it. I was like, oh my God. I was like mind blown. Like it leaked into like other teams that had nothing to do with the trade just because of Chris Paul trade getting vetoed.
Oh, because they had to do this thing.
It
to
just affected
compete
so
and-
much future like drafts and this player and that. Like it was nuts. And that's what brought me to the whole butterfly effect thing. But yeah, life's a crazy thing. Sometimes I do think it's there's more going on than we know.
Watch out for the glitches. What do we know at the end of the day? We know nothing. Thanks for listening to us, guys. We'll be back here next week.
I don't
Thank
know.
you so much.
Thank you, Arby. Thank you, Randall.
Thanks for
Josh,
having
as
me.
always.
Josh,
Man.
big ups.
Big ups.
Take care of
Where's
yourself
Justin?
and each other. Jerry Springer style. That's it.
You ain't got the answer, Sway.